guys, Tighebo here. We're back with more Five Nights with Harry by Harry Furt. We are on chapter 29, which is unfortunately the last chapter of this story. In the last chapter, we had some more Michelle, and it looks like the animatronics, especially ones like Rose and Veronica, can sense the Horcruxes that Voldemort created. And so they thus got rid of the Horcrux in Harry. So he doesn't have to die, which is great. So let's get on to the final chapter. And if you want to follow along, the link to this chapter will be in the description below, as always. Now let's get started. Setting down some mugs, Steph let out a breath and slumped back onto a couch. Okay. Thank God that we don't have any more contractor work right now. I'm beat. With a snort, Davis took a swing of tea from his mug. We've been going nearly non-stop for the past month to fix up old Fazbear holiday animatronics. I would be surprised if you weren't beat. Glancing around, he frowned a little bit. By the way, where is Erica? Not like her to miss a meeting like this. For a few seconds, Richard was silent until he finally sighed. Well, apparently someone she knew got hurt and she needed to go see him. So she took off for halls a bit earlier than planned. So she's not going to be around for a few days. Laura's eyes widened as she leaned forward. Is whoever is alright? As he grabbed a donut, Richard shrugged. Erica said he was okay and recovering. Okay? She just wants to make sure that he's going to be alright, as I guess this guy is a close friend to her and her friend Michelle. From what I gathered, Michelle freaked when she heard he got hurt. There were head shakes from the other members of the group before Lauren sighed. Hope he gets better then. Several moments passed before Richard coughed a bit. Right then. So, I guess that with all the contract jobs done, we're back to just working on the old Freddy animatronics then? Thankful for the subject change, Steph nodded and took a bite from a cookie on the plate. Yeah, I've already got most of the work on Vicky's new costume done. Raising an eyebrow, Davis frowned a bit. That's the one with the rubber and some fake fur, right? While she grinned, Steph sipped her own drink. Yeah, put a layer of rubber over the suit with some strategically placed fur. Not only is it softer than the hard plastic they had been using, but it's a bit more realistic. Humming, she looked up at the ceiling. Erica was happy with it anyways when I showed her the plans. Though the rubber combined with the way that the costume originally was has given her something of a slightly more human figure. What the hell people were thinking when they designed her, I'll never know. A snort escaped from Lauren and she tried to hold back giggles. If you think that's bad, think about Chelsea. Who in their right mind decides to give a freaking children entertainer an animatronic a figure like that, along with pink panties or booty shorts? I mean, seriously? Chuckles came from Richard as he grinned a bit. Maybe they wanted something for the fathers? He dodged the thermal cookie from the laughing Steph. That's sick, you perv. Shaking his head, Davies laughed. Maybe, though it's a moot point as apparently the animatronics are getting clothing that's supposed to be stain and tear resistance and easy to clean. Never heard of something like that which looked like normal fabric. But, if it works, who cares? With a grin, Richard stole another donut and munched on it. I've been playing around with an idea I've had for a bit. Seeing that he had the other's attention, he continued. Up at the front desk, we don't really have much, right? And we haven't hired anyone to greet people, so why not make some animatronics to show off a little? I mean, remember the little cat we made, Steph? After some thought, the costume maker nodded. Flower? Yeah, I still got her at my place. That might take a few weeks worth of work thanks to the work we still got. Hey, Lauren, do you still have the design notes for that little dragon we came up with? Perking up, the female mechanicess grinned. Yeah, I do. Richard shifted around a bit and coughed. Maybe we do something with one of those plush strap animatronics we got laying around? You know, upgrade them and make costumes so that they can greet customers right there. Slowly, Davis raised an eyebrow at his friend. You got a look that says you have an idea. Having shifted in his seat again, Richard rubbed the back of his neck as he looked at the ceiling. Well, I was thinking some sort of mouse, you know? Like, make it realistic and such, with her being nice to people and such. Seeing the looks, he deflated a bit. Okay. Secret of NIMH was one of my favorite movies, okay? And having something like Mrs. Brisby around to greet people would be bloody wicked. There was disbelief on Davy's face as he looked at his old friend. Seriously? Crossing his arms across his chest, the 20-year-old hacker huffed. What? Mrs. Brisby was friggin' awesome. Amused at seeing this side of him, Lauren shook her head and patted his knee with a grin. Hey, nothing wrong at all with that. We just have to make sure that we don't step on any copyright issues, so it wouldn't be too much like her. So if we do something like that, it won't be for some times. But who knows, right? Shrugging, Richard only grunted a bit before the conversation turned towards other topics. Michelle ran one of her hands through her hair as she looked over the preparations for Harry's arrival at the pizzeria. Chica, you got the pizzas ready? Rolling her eyes, Chica nodded over her shoulder. Just keeping them warm for now. And Chelsea's finishing baking some items too. With a sniff, Michelle nodded a bit. Yeah, I can smell the gingerbread and other stuff from here. Slowly, she nodded. Okay, that's good actually. One less thing for us to worry about before Harry gets here. And quickly, the guard checked her watch and her eyes widened a bit. 15 minutes! Oh shoot, Before she could get much further, a tap on her shoulder caused Michelle to turn to see her mother there with a slight smile. Hey, Michelle? Can we go somewhere and talk privately for a little bit? When Michelle opened her mouth to argue, Dole gently took her arm and guided her out of the room. Come on, the security office should be perfect for us. Once they entered, Dole closed both doors and looked around. It's rather hard to imagine how your father used to sit in this very office all those years ago. Grimacing, Michelle began to head to one of the doors to open it. I don't have time for this, Mom. I've got to get everything ready for Harry. However, her mother stopped her by putting a hand over the door button and gestured to the chair. Michelle, go on and sit down, honey. Even though she looked like she wanted to argue, Michelle still did as asked and huffed as she crossed her arms. Okay, I'm sitting down now. Happy? There was a smile on Dole's face as she leaned against the desk. Harry. For several moments she looked over her fidgeting daughter before finally she sighed and shook her head. Harry is really important to you, isn't he? As she put a hand over her eyes, Michelle groaned. Like I keep telling you and everyone else, we're just very good friends, is all. Much to her surprise, her mother pulled her hands away from her eyes and nodded. Believe it or not, honey, but I believe you that you say that you and this Harry boy are just very good friends. For now. Seeing her daughter about to retort, Dole raised a palm. I'm not saying that you're wrong to become more than just that, Michelle. You might well stay that way for the rest of your lives. But can you tell me truthfully that you wouldn't mind being more than just very good friends? For several moments, Michelle stared at her and then opened her mouth to comment. Then, after a few seconds, she closed it and leaned over with her head in her hands. No, I wouldn't mind being more than just good friends with him, Mom. God, it's pathetic, but I would like to be more. Nodding to herself as if this confirmed something, Dole reached over and patted her daughter on the back. Actually, from what you have told me, as have the others who have met him, not pathetic at all. This Harry sounds like a very nice guy from everything. God, I hope I'm doing her voice right, because I think in the last chapter I had had a voice for her, but I can't remember the same voice. So hopefully this voice for Dole is okay. Anyway, back to the chapter, sorry. With a snort, Michelle shook her head. That's putting it mildly, Mom. But I doubt that much more will happen between the two of us. Unseen by Michelle, there was a knowing look on her mother's face. Perhaps, or perhaps not. I can understand where you're coming from, though. Seeing Michelle raise her head, Dole nodded. Your father and I were good friends for a time before we got together, actually. In fact, I was a lot like you, wanting more than being in friends, but thinking it would never happen. Frowning, Michelle searched her mother's face. How did you manage then? Dole leaned back and looked up at the ceiling in deep thought. Well, I took it slowly for the most part. Your father was, and still is, rather dense about such things at times. But we grew closer and closer, and it just sort of happened. I've never regret going that way. From what I hear, that might be the way to take it with Harry. There was a suspicious expression on Michelle's face. How much do you know? For almost a minute, Dole was silent. Your father came across Harry's uncle at a nearby bar one night. He hasn't told me the full story of what happened, but Faith told me enough that I can make some guesses in regards to Harry, ones that I don't like at all. Working her chore, Michelle scowled. Mom, I won't betray Harry's trust by saying anything. His private life is just that. Private. But Harry's a really good guy. A slight frown was on Dole's features as she nodded. And I wouldn't ask you to tell me. She didn't continue the thought out loud. You've all but confirmed it for me. Then Dole smiled a bit. As for him being a good guy, that's rather obvious. Still, I want to be good in person. But as I said, take it slow and at a pace you're both comfortable with. There's no need to rush into anything until you're both ready, and it sounds like Harry needs a bit of time emotionally before he's ready for that sort of step. Michelle nodded a bit and she stared off. Yeah, I guess. Her mother then suddenly smirked a bit as an evil look entered her eyes. Also, I wonder what he'll think of the baby pictures that I brought. Face now red, Michelle spluttered. Mom! As a reply, Dole winked and laughed at her daughter's expression. Harry grumbled some as he was helped into Freddy's by Sirius. I'm just tired. Not made of glass, Sirius. All his godfather did was shrug with a frown. You've just had a piece of Voldemort's soul expelled from your body by a spectre and a mass of undead, insane souls. He looked over his shoulder at Aya and the Black Mass, who simply floated there silently. No offense, of course. Rolling her eyes, Aya waved him off. None taken. Then Sirius turned back to his godson. Poppy was also against this, and the only way that she allowed it was the fact that I would be here with you. The fact that you literally slept nearly 24 hours says something. Just as Harry was about to comment, a yellow blur smacked into him with a screech and lifted him into the air. Harry! Even as he struggled, Chica continued to swing Harry bodily around in a massive hug. I was so worried when Rose told us what happened to you. Are you okay? Feeling okay? Need pizza? Feeling a tap, she looked over her shoulder to see Chelsea there. The other animatronic pointed at the weakly struggling Harry. I don't think he can answer if he can't breathe. Her eyes wide, Chica dropped Harry and then winced at his groan. Sorry about that, Harry. Getting helped to his feet by Chelsea and Sirius, Harry gave a slightly weak smile. Don't worry about it. And yeah, I'm okay. I'd like some pizza. As she wrung her hands, Chelsea smiled a bit, the lights in her cheek coming on as a blush. Harry? I've also made some chocolate tart for you as well, if you like. With a nod, Harry reached up and rubbed the top of her head. Thanks. I'll make sure to save some room for it As your last one you sent me was great. A smile bloomed on Harry's face as he heard Chelsea giggle happily. It was then that he noticed that they were no longer alone, as Michelle was just behind Chelsea, and the others were behind her. For a moment, Harry fired his eyebrows at what he could see in Michelle's expression. Michelle? Chelsea moved aside as Michelle took one step and then another. Once she was close enough, the night guard pulled Harry into a tight hug, which he returned. I'm glad that you're okay. Closing his eyes, Harry's smile widened. Yeah, sorry if I worried you or anything. The sudden sound of a throat clearing reminded the two that there were others there, and they leapt apart. Cheeks red, Harry glanced to see who it was, and froze as he spotted Mike giving him a narrow-eyed stare. Sorry to interrupt this, but it's about time we meet in person. Oof! Not even a second later, Mike was clutching his side as Dole withdrew her elbow. Walking up, she smiled softly at Harry and extended a hand. I'm Rebecca Spit, Michelle's mother, but nearly everyone calls me Dole. Taking her hand, Harry shook it. Hello, ma'am. Michelle told me all about you after Much to his embarrassment, Michelle grinned. After he saw a picture of you I have and asked who my older sister was. Giggling a bit, Dolph shook her head as she spied the glare he gave a smirking Michelle. Well now, he's certainly a fit for her. Unnoticed, Faith floated over to amuse Aya, who was watching. Hey there. As she turned, Aya blinked. What? Faith only leaned in a bit. You know, normally this would be about the point when I say something along the lines that you must have fallen from heaven. That's not possible, because there's no way that heaven would have let something as beautiful as you go. Fortunately for unnerved Aunt, a hand reached over and two fingers grabbed Faith's ear and Dole dragged her away. Come along, you. As she passed where Mike had clapped Harry on the shoulder and squeezing it, Dole grabbed his ear with her other hand. And you as well. We're heading to the party room. Slowly blinking, Harry pointed after the three. What was that all about? For her part, Michelle only groaned. No one noticed Harry slip away from the party they were having in the main room, except for one person. Harry had just sat down in the chair in the security office and closed his eyes when he heard a chuckle. Opening his eyes as he jolted, he saw Michelle there. Tired, huh? Nodding, Harry let out a small yawn as he stretched a bit. A little bit, yeah, anyways. And it didn't help that everyone seems to be hovering around me as if I was made of glass. Michelle just raised her hands with her palms out as she smiled. No need to worry about that with me, Harry. Her expression softened a bit. As long as you say that you're alright and aren't obviously hurt, I'll believe you. She pulled away some as Harry coughed. Thanks. Anyways, how are things going here? I know that closing day is in less than a week, so... Frowning, Michelle sighed and scratched her head. Yeah, well, between all of us, we got everything pretty much packed and put into storage in various places. Though we got all the drawings and letters from kids back at the house. At Harry's obvious vision, she smiled. It's so that the gang could be cheered up by looking at them and reading the letters. With a thoughtful look, Michelle leaned back against the desk, which Harry noticed was looking empty. Other than that, the employees are apparently happy that you're giving them the profits from the last week as a Christmas bonus and servant's package. Some of them, though, did say that if you reopen, to look them up. Surprised, Harry felt his eyebrows climb some. They do realize that it'll be at least a year before they might have a chance to reopen. Heck, I figured 2 years, as we need to demolish everything, plan a new pizzeria, and then rebuild. All Michelle did was shrug. Yeah, but they're still interested. They've been afraid so long that they're not about to give up if there's a chance for it to continue. That got her a smile from Harry, and neither of them noticed Faith slip in as they talked. And neither did they notice her place something close to stealing before she vanished as quietly as she'd come. Oh, this should be good. As that happened, Harry gave Michelle a look over before he nodded with some redness in his cheeks. You know, seeing that he had her attention, he continued. That uniform really does look good on you. Blushing slightly, Michelle shrugged a bit and she scratched her cheek and tried to ignore how she could hear her heartbeat speed up a bit. Thanks. I know that you're just being complimentary. However, Harry waved his hands in the air a bit. I'm not lying, Michelle. Honestly, I'm kind of amazed at how well it fits you and, uh, you know, with a blink, Michelle slowly gave the look of a cat about to get a bowl of cream and leaned in, her hands on either armrest. Actually, I don't know, Harry. How about you tell me what it is that I should know? Much to her surprise, though, Harry closed his eyes and took a deep breath before he opened them. Well, it really, shows off your figure, you know? I swear that you look far better than I ever did, anyways. A blush spread across Michelle's face as she had not expected that at all. Thanks. But I think that you're selling yourself short in that? For a few moments, the two were like that, just staring into each other's eyes before Michelle snapped herself out of it, face utterly red. Uh, right. Thanks for the compliment. Suddenly, she noticed Harry looking up with wide eyes. Inside her chest, her heart beating faster as she tilted her head up. Then, Michelle's stomach plummeted at the sight of a green plant with red berries that floated just below the ceiling. Is that? Harry slowly nodded as he tried not to squeak. Mistletoe? Yeah, it is. For almost a minute, the two stared up at it before Michelle scratched her neck and looked around as she stared up. Well, I know for a fact that it wasn't there this evening. It wasn't there earlier this evening. Mouth dry, she looked around. You don't think that? Quickly getting up, Harry grunted and looked out through one door and then the other as Michelle took a quick look through the cameras. Yeah, no one's around. A moment later, he grimaced as he noticed that the mistletoe was following him around. Great, it's one of Fred and George's, which means that I'm going to kill a mutt. That caused his female friend to raise an eyebrow at him and cross her arms. But why would that be an issue? I mean, sure, it's floating, which means magic, but what's the big deal? With a sigh, Harry pinched the bridge of his nose. They're a spell to float above someone and won't float off to another victim until they get kissed on the lips. A moment later, he felt arms encircle him and looked up to see Michelle hugging him. What are you doing? The blush on the guard's face felt to her like it was nearly nuclear, but she took a breath and she brought her face down before stopping it just in front of Harry. Well, I think I can help there. His eyes wide, Harry searched her face before he moved in and their lips gently touched. A few seconds later, Harry's arms encircled her waist as the mistletoe floated off. Neither of the two noticed, though, until Michelle pulled away and Harry blinked. Wow. Just nodding, Michelle smiled brightly at him. Yeah. In the party room, Chico was looking into Cupcake's eyes and quietly squealed. Yes! That, of course, caused Foxy to glance over at her. What was that, Les? However, Chica just cleared her throat a bit. Oh, nothing. Just remembering something that I saw for a present for Harry. Not quite sure. Foxy only nodded, thus Miss Chica giving Faith a thumbs up as the Spectre kept Mike busy with things, so that he wouldn't go and look for his daughter. Faith just grinned right back, even as Dole smirked, already knowing what had just happened. There was a slight smile on Rebecca's face as she tucked the blanket in around sleeping Harry and Michelle. Both of them had fallen asleep cuddled up to each other in the corner of the party room. As she could turn down the volume of the radio, Rebecca glanced at the clock. I don't know if Rebecca is dull or if she's Toy Bonnie. I'm gonna assume it's Toy Bonnie. It's free, you guys. How about we let them get some sleep? Sirius nodded from where he sat. Yeah, Harry's still recovering from what happened. A snort escaped from Mike as he looked at his drink and wished it was something a bit stronger. Yeah, so does Michelle. She hasn't gotten much sleep after she heard what happened. Taking a sip of the drink, he narrowed his eyes at Sirius. So, talking about your godson, what kind of person is he? Eyebrows twitching, Joel Dole jabbed Mike in the ribs with her elbow as she hissed. Mike! However, Sirius only chuckled. It's not an issue. Becoming thoughtful, Sirius turned back to where his godson was sleeping with a slight frown on his face. Harry is something else. He's a good guy and will pretty much do whatever it takes if it means protecting those that he cares about. Raising an eyebrow, Mike leaned against the table. Oh? With a slow nod, Sirius hummed. Well, when he was only 12, he fought and killed a basilisk to save a friend's sister. At the interested looks, Sirius grunts. Imagine a 50-something foot snake that can kill with a glance and has a deadly venomous bite to boot. And you get the idea. That caused Mike to pause before he nodded. Huh. That does fit with what I got from his uncle. As he narrowed his eyes, Sirius looked at him. I wouldn't expect that he would have anything good to say about his nephew. Mike grinned a bit. And you'd be right. Guy is obviously an asshole in my book, and if he dislikes Harry, but my daughter and her friends like him, that would be more than enough proof in my book that he's an okay guy. Sipping his drink, his expression turned story for a moment. I have experience in that. Having glanced at her husband, Dole decided to change the subject. So then, what are your plans for the holiday? For the holiday? When Dole looked at her with a confused expression, she shrugged. I figured that Harry is likely to drop by during the holidays, so... Now that he knew what she meant, Sirius thought things over for almost a minute. Well, he goes back shortly after New Year's. But besides Christmas Day and the 30th, the rest is pretty much free. With a nod, Dole crossed her arms as she thought it over. Would you be against maybe a Christmas Eve dinner? We've managed to have some stuff sent over, so I could cook up a nice dinner. Seeing the interested look, she grinned. I've got a number of turkeys, so I could cook those up along with other dishes. Chica suddenly popped up, causing all three adults to jump. Ooh, can I help? I'm a really good cook, you know. Taking a moment, Dawn let her heart settle down before she reached over and patted Chica on the head. Sure, I could always use some help. Of course, that caused Chica to hop a little in place as she clapped her hands in place. I'm so excited, thank you. Much to Dole's confusion, Chica hugged her and walked off. Well, she seems happy. While he dabbed at some spilled drink on his shirt, Mike grunted. I fucking hate it when they do that. Ow! Slowly, Dole pulled her hand away from where she had smacked her husband on the back of the head. What have I told you about swearing where kids can hear? All Mike did was sigh and rolled his eyes. Yeah, don't do it. Once more, he yelped when Dole gave him another slap to the back of the head and glared at him. Vicky was laying back in thought as she played, when suddenly Jessie and Liz popped out from behind the couch, scaring her. Hey, Vicky, what are you doing? Even though she was now animatronic, Vicky still held her paw over where her heart would have been. Damn it, you two! Do you bloody well mind? There was a grin on Liz's feline face as she popped the pea in her answer. Nope. Meanwhile, the wolf animatronic caught sight of what Vicky had been playing with. Is that a paddle ball? Picking it up, Jessie scratched her head a bit as she examined it. Huh. Never knew that you were that into that sort of thing, honestly. With a scowl, Vicky snatched it back. Hey! After she gave it a once over, she went back to playing with it, and she shrugged. That has to be into it. I never thought about it until I saw it in a box of toys a few weeks back. Turns out that it's actually pretty nice and awesome. Not to mention that I'm pretty good at it. As she rolled her eyes, Liz leaned against the couch and sighed as her tail swished from side to side. So, what's the problem? Seeing Vicky raise an eyebrow at her, Liz waved a paw around. You've been, super quiet and deep in thought about something. For a few moments, Vicky was quiet, and then she shrugged. Just been having a bunch of weird dreams, is all. Now interested, Liz grinned a bit. Oh? Strange dreams, huh? What kind of strange dreams? It wouldn't have to involve a certain wizard, would it? Jessie looked at her and gave her a shove. Hey, that's probably personal. Besides, Harry's is like a brother to us. Starting, Liz leaned her chin against one paw as Vicky gave her an annoyed look. I'm a feline. I'm supposed to be curious. While she tried not to facepalm, Vicky shook her head. You're a ghost trapped inside an animatronic and able to interact with the world through it. All that did was cause Liz to shrug again. It's pretty much the same thing, in a way, isn't it? The fox animatronic had a slightly worried expression on her face from that. Is that what Harry and the others meant when they said that we might change over time from being animatronic? However, she shook it off and shrugged. Anyways, all that happens when I have the dreams is walking through fog with what sounds like a burst of static filled sobs from somewhere nearby. But I can't ever find the source. Been happening since I woke up like this, actually. A blush broke out on her face. And yeah, Harry's just like a big brother. Both Jessie and Liz shared a look before the wolf scratched her head. Weird. Frowning, Vicky shrugged a bit. I haven't been asked the others, and according to them, I'm the only one who has had dreams like that. So it's probably nothing. Wanting to change the subject, Vicky glanced at Jessie and hummed. So I see that your repairs are coming along pretty well. It was worth it to see Jessie light up. Oh yeah! She looked at the shirt on her around a little. Erica managed to fix up one of the spare torsos for this body, and she said it resembles the one for you and Chelsea. Though why she keeps muttering about perfect, I don't know. Slowly blinking, Vicky looked herself over and then rolled her eyes. Let's just say that considering things, people designing the third generation animatronics must have been inspired by some of the dolls being sold to girls. That only caused Jessie to scratch her head. I don't get it. As she shook her head, Liz patted her longtime friend on the shoulder. We'll explain when you're older. Jessie only huffed at that. And that's the end of chapter 29 and Five Nights with Harry's. So yeah. Unfortunately, that's all we have left of this story, but go leave a review. There is a link in the description for you to go. And of course, if you want to go back to the beginning, there is a playlist that you can click on. I believe it should be on the right side of the screen. So click on that if you want to rewatch the entire series whole, like that. So, but yeah, be sure to subscribe. I upload new videos every Friday, and like the video if you enjoyed it. And leave a comment. If you leave a review, leave the comment telling me what you think of this story, of the chapter. But if you don't leave a review, I don't want to know. And you don't need an account. It just means they can't respond. So yeah. And I will see you guys next Friday with a new video.